I hope I get this microphone thing right because it's sort of kind of odd. Um, okay, my name's Heather. I overcame addiction and all different kinds of abuse. First off, do you believe faith sees the invisible, feels the intangible, and achieves the impossible? I often wonder why it is we're drawn to things. I was searching for the meaning of my life, but how many actually find it? It took me 41 years to find mine. My story is not an easy one to hear. In fact, it is really sad until the end of the 41 years. I would ask myself so many times, do I believe? I did not until a few years ago. When I did believe, God does forgive because I made bad choices. I feel the choices were bad because what I went through as a kid was hard. And I was blinded for so long. My name is Heather. I was born September 22nd of 79. I'm 41. My mother's name is Marie. And there is Don. Yes, father he was, but a really bad one. Then there is my sister, Dawn Marie. She would have been a year older than me, but she only lived 3 months old. And then there was my little brother, Jason. He died when he was 24. Heart problems for both of them. When he died, it was very hard for me. Don was abusive, but I don't know because I blocked out my whole childhood because it was so painful. And I was such at a young age, it happened from a baby to 5 years old. I do know someone in my family said Don would give me drugs to keep me quiet. And what of abuse he did to other people in my family. He lived with us till I was born, till I was about 5 years old. After he left, the state took me from my mom for the abuse he did. They put me in a psychiatric hospital. My little brother was in the same hospital having heart surgery. The only thing I remember about the hospital is one morning we were having breakfast and I remember the smell of syrup. And I would think to myself, what possibly could a 5-year-old do to deserve to go to a psychiatric hospital? Sometime my mom got custody back of me again, but only for a short time. And then I was permanently taken at the age of 7. From kindergarten to 4th grade, I was placed in about 15, 20 different foster homes. From 4th to 9th grade, I lived with his family, Randy and Sue. Not a good one. Never asked how was work. Sue worked at Western State, and Randy worked in McNeil Prison. And Randy liked me in a way what you call a father and daughter should have a relationship. He likes me in a different way. And me and Sue did not get along at all. With all the foster homes I was in, I went to a lot of different churches, but with Randy and Sue, they went to a Lutheran church, and I wanted to go to a different church. And Sue, she said she was going to give me up because I wanted to go to a different church than them. I remember in 6th grade, they had me see a counselor, and the counselor expected me to look at my actual family pictures, and I was supposed to remember what happened to me when I was a little kid. When I just turned about 17, Randy and Sue put me in one of those live-in treatment centers for anger management and not knowing how to deal with my past. That did not go well with me again. Just made me more angry. I was there a year, and then a month before I turned 18, the treatment center kicked me out, and Randy and Sue picked me up, and they drove me to Kennewick, Washington. I was placed in a foster home for a month, and then when I turned 18, CPS kicked me out on the streets. Said that's where I belonged. I was a lost cause. Whatever I went through the first 18 years was hard. Yes, I might not remember much, but I know in my heart it was very bad to block out my whole life. I've tasted hopelessness, I've known heartache, but somehow, even though God knew I did not believe in Him yet, I believe He was there for me with everything that I went through. And He did not want me to go through that, but He gave me the courage and the strength and the hope to keep on and make it through it. I don't try to reflect on what happened, but also I am not afraid to tell my story. As many people as I can, but also like when I was in addiction, I never forgot how I felt, especially of why I got clean. Now I have came to the other hard part of my story. Because what I have been through, I ended up making really bad choices. And I was blinded because of all the pain. I also believe I became blinded because of the choices I made. I was what you call lost from 97 to 2016 from those choices. I cannot say how many times I used and for how long and how many times I was clean. I was just lost. My foster dad, Randy, did do one good thing for me after I was on the streets. He went through all the hard work and got me on disability. But when I moved out of Eastern Washington to Olympia, Washington, I did not know what you call switch disability to where I moved to. When I was 19, I became pregnant. Yes, I was still on the streets the whole 9 months. I stayed on a lot of people's couches, wherever. On June 11th, I had a boy named after my little brother, that's what I called him, Jason. CPS took him the day he was born. Right after he was born, by the time I was 21, I was so out of control. From 21 to 24 in Tacoma, Washington, I would take such a big hit, I would have a grand mal seizure. By the time I was about 2004, I was in Tacoma jail, and one of my cousins found me in jail roster. I had my first jail visit with my real mother, Marie, who I have not seen since kindergarten. I shortly got released from jail and moved in with my mom and my stepdad, Charlie, in Morton, Washington. I remember that very long drive from Tacoma to Morton. Yes, Mother, I know. Okay, because I have never been to Morton, but no, I love living here very much. I had to have all my teeth pulled because I did smoke so much coke, and my teeth were rotted out, broken past the gums. So I had to get dentures at the age of 24. Me and my mom went to Social Security in town, and they said for me to get Social Security, I had to have a state payee and go to Cascade Mental Health. They had me on so much medication, I was like a zombie all the time. I think I lived with my mom for 5 years. I also remember I would have flashbacks. Think when I was a kid with all the bad stuff that happened to me, and I would be screaming at the top of my lungs from the flashbacks. Eventually, I moved to Centralia. I had an apartment for almost 2 years on Section 8, and the things were going good for a while until I was with this guy for a year and got engaged. But good thing I did not, for no reason, he busted both sides of my ribs. Another time there was a big problem where I had a grand mal seizure or a stroke. I don't know, was knocked out for a long time and they could not figure out what happened. Think I lived there for an apartment for almost 2 years and relapsed. Ended up using Section 8. Except this time it was meth. Soon after I had to move out, went back to the streets of Tacoma, was there for a year. A good friend of mine, Tim, somehow got a hold of me and let me move in with him in Olympia. I first met him in Tacoma when I was 21. I think I lived with him for a few years, but was going really good for a while. Then I made the bad decision to move to Eastern Washington. My mom wanted to stop me because I was moving to where my father was. I don't know what insinuated me to make that decision. I just felt it needed to be done. My mom wanted to stop me, but she knew in her heart the only way that I could learn of how bad my father was to let me go. It would have been better if I got Section 8 in Olympia, yes. But that time I felt I needed to move to Soap Lake. I think I was there for a few years, was on Section 8 the second time. My friend Tim had to do this medical thing. It went very bad for him. Through everything I have been through, I finally came to the breaking point with Tim in the hospital. In the ICU, he ended up in a coma for a month. Kidneys completely failed, lost 40 pounds in a bad way. Like I could see a string of our connection when he died. In a few minutes, the string was cut. When he did come back, there was no way to put the string together. I did not see or hear from Tim in a couple of years later. When he was in the hospital for months, the light switch in my head was turned off. I felt I was broken to a million pieces and relapsed again on meth for the second time. So now that was the Section 8 twice, ended up losing both times. Turned out me being in the Eastern Washington took me a couple of years to get my life in order. After I lost that apartment, I don't know how long I was on the streets. There for a year, maybe most of 2. I had another good friend of mine, Peggy, in Arizona. She said God came to her in a dream, saying she had to help or I was going to die. So somehow she was able to get the money for a plane ticket and the plane ride, and was scary for me because I have not been on the plane since the 90s. It turned out me staying with her, that was what the kind of treatment I needed. Now comes some things in my life that were where God is telling me loud and clear He does forgive. And I had, by the grace of God, my friend Tim wanted me to come and visit for a while. I was about to cut off all contact with his family, and it was painful, but I didn't. And also, that's when I went to go visit Tim in Lacey. By the grace of God, my son Jason turned 18. I had my first visit when he was born. I lived in Arizona for about 3 years. Moved back to Morton. Boy, did I miss trees by now after living in 2 different deserts 6 years. I moved to my mom's again for a year. Went to the Social Security office. And the real funny part was, some lady I saw in the Social Security office when I was 24, not even 5 seconds, she asked me if I wanted to be my own payee, the same lady. Me and my mom were both very shocked. We looked at each other like, what? Say that again? I filled out an application at the senior apartments in Morton. I got approved again. That was the other miracle God showed me. I was in total shock. There was no way why I got approved for Section 8 third time. So sometime after I lived in the senior apartments, Dawn died. he was on his deathbed, and my sister Brenda could have picked me up, but when I lived in Eastern Washington and my friend Tim was in the ICU, he was very emotionally abusive towards me. I did forgive him, but I could not and did not want to be there for him after he passed away. Brenda was having a hard time and stuff, so I had her send some of his ashes to me, and I sent them to the artificial ashes in Seattle and gave me back this beautiful heart with his ashes. So now I ask, do I believe? Guess what, God? I do believe. I do believe. Now, hold on. I know that is a short one, but I have to continue in another 5-6 months, continue my testimony, because I have about 6 helpful books to even overcome even more. But in the meantime, I have bracelets for everybody. Anytime you go through something hard in life, think of the bracelet. What would Jesus do?